guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, we are back. Today's Monday, and it's been a weekend. I did a lot of stuff this weekend, but I didn't do a lot of like blacksmithing stuff. So, unfortunately, I've made no more progress on like the axe or anything. But I did a lot of stuff. We went to the zoo and with my new nephew, so that was a lot of fun. All right, so today we are going to continue working on our steak. This is not a steak that you cook and it's like medium rare and you eat it and it's delicious and lovely. It's not a steak for a vampire. It is a steak for making bowls. So we take flat sheet like this and we turn it into a teapot or a vase or a bowl. And so we are currently making a steak that will allow us to do that job. And so I've already got the forge up and running. We do have a new propane sponsor today for the week. This week's propane sponsor is Basic Salad Sandwich. Thank you so much, Sandwich, for donating $25 to my KoFi and sponsoring this week's propane tank. Thank you guys so much, and thank you specifically, Sandwich, for sponsoring our propane today. And if you guys would like to sponsor a propane tank, you can go to my KoFi. The link is on the channel page, in the description on YouTube, and at the end of a short on TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, I was going to test streaming on TikTok, and I haven't done that, so we'll try that on a Wednesday. Hey, Corwin, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Are we a little bit laggy today? I'm not entirely sure because my monitoring looks a little bit jittery, but that might not be what you guys get to see. So let me know if it's too jittery. I may end up having to refresh the stream if that's the case. Hopefully not. But I'm doing pretty well today. Like I said, I didn't do a lot of blacksmithing related stuff this weekend, but we did a lot, so it was fun. It's slightly laggy. Interesting. All right. I am going to restart OBS, and hopefully that's going to help. So I will be back in like less than 5 minutes. Let me try this. I apologize. I just want to make sure that it's not distractingly laggy, but slightly laggy. I'm going to refresh OBS, and it'll only take a few minutes. Okay, so it doesn't look quite as laggy as it was before. Hopefully it's not too bad. I don't know that I'm really going to be able to fix it. If it is still laggy, I apologize. I did refresh OBS. Hopefully that has done something. But it still looks just a hair laggy. I'm not sure. All right. I guess it'll just be a little laggy. I apologize for that. Let's see. Are we buffering? Is that what's happening? Video buffering. Try low latency. I don't know why. That's weird. Anyway, so I apologize if we're a little bit laggy. What was I going to say? I was going to say something and I totally forgot what it was. I apologize for that. Evening Sandwich, thank you so much for sponsoring this week's propane tank. You are this week's propane sponsor. So thank you so much for that. But yes, welcome to the stream. We are going to be continuing working on our raising steak, and that's a tool for making flat sheet and turning that into bowl forms. It shows 60 FPS, but it looks more like 5. You're welcome. Yes, thank you. It looks really laggy, but I'm not entirely sure why. I really don't know. I apologize for how laggy things are. Hopefully it smooths out. But the only other thing that I feel like I can do to fix the lag is to restart the whole computer. So we'll give it a couple minutes, and if it doesn't smooth out, let me know in like 5-10 minutes. If it's not smoothed out by then, I'll restart the computer and we'll try this again. I'm not, like I said, I'm not entirely sure why it's so laggy. It does look kind of like, because when I move, I can kind of see my monitoring. I don't know. Lame. Apologies on the scuff. So I have everything set up relatively good. Our steel has been cooking in the forge for about 15 minutes now. So very, very soon we should be able to do our first heat. But I think there's an ad that should be coming up relatively soon. I don't know. It might have gotten delayed because I had to restart the stream. Yeah, everything looks so oh, there it goes. In 3 minutes, we're going to have an ad. So once that ad is up, I'm going to do my first heat. If by the time that first heat is done, we are still kind of laggy, then I'll probably restart the computer. I find it obnoxious to see the lag. Hopefully it smooths out. But I don't know. There might be some like weird background processes going on the laptop. We recently had an update on Friday after the stream. So I don't know. Maybe it's still like performing some background stuff related to that. Hopefully it fixes itself and it smooths out. Let me actually see if there's any processes I can get rid of. Another streamer had some issues lately also with AMD graphics, so maybe it's a driver issue. In that case, it was only for highest resolution. Here reducing resolution does not help. That's so weird. Let's see, do I have any crazy task manager? Pulling up the task manager says only 51% of my memory is used right now. So that should be relatively easy on the computer. So overall, I don't know. I don't think it's task manager related. Whoa. As I run into I mean, it could also be like some weird drivers, but I don't know. I'll have to look into it. I apologize for the scuff today. Yeah, I don't know that there's anything I can do about it unless I just restart the computer. What was I don't know. There was something I was going to talk about, and then I totally forgot it because I'm trying to like troubleshoot the stream, and that always like kills some of my ideas for what I want to talk about. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the connection says it's clean, but I don't know. So weird. The stuttering is almost too consistent and constant to be caused by load. It seems to be systematic. I'll come back, or it'll come back to you, hopefully. Hopefully it will. If it is important, it will. It definitely will. So I don't know. I think... Do you guys think that I should restart the computer? I hate to restart like 3 times because then you get pinged 3 times. But let me see about what happens if I restart the computer. This is gonna drive me nuts. All right. Apologies, guys. So I think you guys can see me, but I cannot see me right now. Give me half a second so I can set myself up again. Stream manager. There we go. Okay, cool. That seems better. All right, and we're back. I think. I hope. I apologize for that, guys. So, what do we got here? I'll wait just a couple more minutes. Yes, a lot better, I think. So, apologies for the double false start. Thank you guys for bearing with me while I try and troubleshoot my scuff. Yes, thank you so much for, being there. All right, cool. Let's see. We've got plenty of heat, so I am gonna start my first heat. So let's see what happens. Hopefully the ad doesn't start in the middle of this because I've already delayed it like twice and by restarting the stream. So we should be able to beat the ad anyway. So let's do this. Let's get working. Less technology and more blacksmithing. All right, let me actually turn it in this direction. So, we started squishing out the other side on Friday, so we're going to continue working on that. I need to move this guy down because it looks like we have a nice isolation right here, but it's the opposite direction of this side. So I'm going to need, at some point during this stream, I'm going to have to flip around the die so that we can kind of fix that up a little bit. But we'll wait just a little bit before we do that. If an advert comes along, you must whip it. I gotta whip it good. Yes. So, not too bad. I think we are back to normalcy with less scuff now. So I'm pretty excited that the refresh on the whole laptop helps a lot with that. So that's really good. I always feel super self-conscious about my scuff. But I mean, it is what it is. Scuff happens sometimes. So let's see. What can I talk about? We didn't do a lot of our our housekeeping. And I don't know that I really have a lot of housekeeping to do. Primarily, the only thing that I'm really up to right now is that Wednesday's video is going to be the second part in our grill set, or I guess maybe the third part if you want to call it that. It is the grill spatula, and that video will be out on a Wednesday. So 2 weeks ago, we did the grill fork, and last week was our Noah Hickman interview. So this week on Wednesday will be the spatula video. How was your weekend? My weekend was pretty good. Like I said, I went to the zoo with my new nephew. My nephew is about 9 months old, so pretty young, but like also very aware of what was going on and very excited about seeing some of the animals that we were walking around. There were some orangutans, and they have a baby orangutan at the St. Louis Zoo, and so that was really cool to see. And we went and we watched the penguins. Those are my favorite animals, like the penguins. I love penguins. They're so adorable, but they stink, so I'm glad I don't have one, you know? I did a set of grill spring tongs on Sunday. I saw you were streaming on Sunday, but I was not available to watch, unfortunately, because like I said, I went to the zoo. I got the notification, but I wasn't in a place where I could watch, so I was rather disappointed. I will eventually go back and watch the stream, or skim through some of it and check that out, but unfortunately I was just not available to watch live, which is sad. Go ahead and post the link to your YouTube. Go for it. So we are currently under an ad. Once that ad comes up, we will kind of figure out where we are, how much heat we've got, maybe do another heat. I want to turn the piece 90 degrees, kind of flatten it out a little bit. Then we'll probably flip the bottom die 180 degrees and kind of do the half flat, half rounded die. And I think that's probably where we're going to be for a little bit. There is a bird outside, and I keep thinking that it's like a cat or like a kid. And because like I've got my headphones on, so I can't really hear the like really crisp and clear whatever noise that is. It's just like a little squeak. It's kind of weird sounding. All right, so we are back. Welcome to the Stream Duel. And Knots is I've been informed that Knots' name is Knots Hubby, and there's no Shubby in there. It's a little bit weird to read, but it makes more sense with Knots. So yeah, and he streams on YouTube. And go ahead and put your link there to your YouTube channel. That would be awesome. That way we can all check you out. I wish I could shout you out here on, I wish I could shout out your YouTube here on Twitch, but I can only really shout out your Twitch. So since you stream on YouTube, it's not an automatically like a thing that I can do. You can hear birds at all over the furnace and wearing ear defenders. That's a loud bird. It was just like a weird screech. It was like the softest little thing. The only reason I knew what it was at all is because before I started the forge, when I was setting up all of the gear, I actually had heard that same sound. So I don't know if it's a crow or if it's like something else, but it's kind of a higher pitch than I imagine a crow. Yeah, I don't know. I heard it this morning too. It was outside my window when I was doing some file transfers. Like my office where I have my computer is like right outside like a tree and like a window, and so when the birds are squawking, a crow should not sound like a cat. Yeah, I don't think it was a crow. But I mean, we have some robins, we have some cardinals. I think there's a blue jay or two out there, and I know for a fact we have hummingbirds, but I'm not entirely sure that hummingbirds make noise. I don't know. I kind of feel like King would be a little bit better person to ask about like what different birds sound like. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not a crow. There are a couple crows around, but they're not very common in this area. Honestly, I'm a little bit shocked if there's birds out at all, because it's like really cold, hence the jacket. I was really cold until I started up the forge, even with the jacket, so we're starting to cool off. Well, the loudest birds in the U.S. is the northern cardinal. I mean, that might have been it. Like I said, we do get cardinals quite frequently. There was last year a group, like a family of cardinals, and they like fell inside of our chimney. And like there was a nest in there, and we had to like get them out. And so we waited until they flew out, and then we put a grate on the top. They had actually ripped it out before. What's cold for down there? I think it's in the 50s Fahrenheit. So I'm not entirely sure what the Celsius conversion for that is. I can do the math. Google. Well, I guess I can't do the math. Google can do it for me though. What is it? 50 Fahrenheit to Celsius. It's apparently 10 degrees Celsius. Yes. So I think that's cold. For me, that's really cold. But I don't have a lot of cushion to keep me warm. Less insulation. All right, let's do another heat while we're talking. Catbirds do, but crows actually can mimic other sounds. They actually can be taught to speak like a parrot. We drop below 0 degrees around now. Yeah, it's still, I'm still more southern, I think. And normally, like in the area that I grew up north, it would be like, you know, in the closer to 0 Celsius. But here it's warmer than that. Oh, I promised you guys I was going to turn this 90 degrees, and I didn't. It's all right. We'll get it. We've got some time left. It in there this direction, that way I'll remember for our next heat. Ray is not heavily insulated, also known as Cevalette. Ray is small. I am small. I wish I was bigger, right? I would love to have all the, like, you know, giant muscles. I just don't think I can I can have giant muscles. I just don't think I can grow them. But I mean, I feel like I also I don't bodybuild either. So maybe if I like, ate a whole bunch of protein powder and like went to the gym all the time, maybe I could develop more muscles. Gotta get on the juice. But yeah, I'm like super small. Although on Friday, I think I told you guys about my elbow brace. We were doing such a large piece of stock that it's kind of been affecting my elbow a little bit because I'm one-handing this giant chunk of steel, and I just wanted a little bit more support. And so when I was wearing the elbow brace that I wore last spring, when I sprained my elbow, or when I slept on it wrong, like it was too small and it was cutting off the circulation to my hand, and so I had to pull it off, which means that I'm getting more muscle, more muscle tone from blacksmithing all the time. Ray is an elven smith of Aragon, not a dwarven smith of Mordor. Testosterone helps in building muscle, but also it cuts your life short by about 5 years statistically. So maybe you're better off like it is. I mean, that could be, I don't really want to cut my life any shorter than I already have by like, having gotten relatively ill. I like, living and being able to hang out with you guys longer. Whoops. I changed the view on the camera just because I was thinking about it. I think tone often looks better than bulk anyway. I mean, I think it depends. Sometimes, like the really toned stuff, like I think it's really weird when you see like the big hulked up guys in the Marvel movies with their shirts off, like Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth. And then when they're like really, when they're really bulked up like that, I think that's kind of gross looking. It's like, and then they don't get to drink for like 3 days and they're about to throw up. And I don't find that attractive. Hey, oh my God, Pete, welcome to the stream. NB women have some testosterone and men have estrogen, just less. Yeah, that's definitely the hormone content of people is variable based or like, on the individual. A lot of athletes have more testosterone and less estrogen. I mean, it's a big thing. And it's, it's just the way the body works. So, yeah. I mean, I would like to be stronger, though, because I think that, I am so small that, people can throw me around, and I don't like that. There's all kinds of genetic variants for hormones. There are so many genetic variations. And that's why, it makes some of the stuff that's going on right now a little confusing to me. I don't want to get too far into politics, and I myself am going a little bit too close, so I'm gonna change the subject. So for my next heat, I already flipped the steel. So when we were going, or I guess it's getting thicker and not longer, and so I want to maintain the parallel sides of our piece. So we are going to attempt to turn that width into length. Muscle tone is unnatural. The world's strongest men, women look bully but not muscle bound. That's so true. When you're looking at the world's strongest man or woman, oftentimes they're larger, but they don't have those like really defined muscles, and it's different it's different types of exercises, right? You know, when you're looking for strength, actual real strength, you pick up the big weights, like the heavy ones. But if you want to get like that tone, you do a lot of reps of lightweight. So it's a different type of exercise, I think. So how about that local sports team? Go sports ball. See, that's how I feel about sports a little bit too. I'm not a very athletic person when it comes to like actual sports. I feel like blacksmithing takes a little bit of athleticism. I just, you know, I'm not a big sports ball person. I mean, I know. I'm supposed to be all over, you know, is it the Kansas City Chiefs? Is that who Taylor Swift's boyfriend is on? That team? I think it's like the Chiefs or something. I'm supposed to be a Chiefs fan. Yes. Hey, Ping, welcome to the stream. It's artsy, I think. I mean, it is artsy, but it also has to be somewhat athletic. Because, I mean, you know, this piece of steel that I'm working with right now, it's like over 7 pounds. So I am like lifting and carrying that around and like, you know, hammering it and stuff. So yeah. And welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Harry Light. Did they rename the Chiefs? Taylor Kelsey and Travis Swift. See, it's Travis Swift and Taylor Swift because, I mean, she didn't work that hard just to change her name. Did you see the last 3-point shot during the 3rd inning that they made at the 30-yard line yesterday? That's a lot of threes. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community once again. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have fun and we have fun here. I am going to do my next heat though. Y'all come here to see me squish metal and talk about fun things. I forgot to actually hit record. So I'm kind of glad that I glanced over at the camera when I went to flip my view on the capture card. Let's see. Oh, it's too shallow already. Move that up and bring it back down. This 90 degrees and we're going to keep on keeping on. I want to keep these sides parallel. Now we've got a lot of girth here and it's a lot skinnier on this side, so we're going to keep on keeping on and try and fix that. I was watching score the 3rd goal in the 3rd period against the 3rd string goalie. Sports ball is for people who don't lift weights repeatedly as part of their jobs. I mean, I don't know. I hate to criticize anybody who dedicates a amount of time, of their free time to exercise, even if it's sports ball or, going to the gym, The singer who started that won't say or what it refers to, but denies most of the things people claim. What did I missed something. I missed what that was a response to. I'm sure one of the scores yesterday or Saturday was 6-7. Ah. Corwin, are you on the 6-7 bandwagon? So 6-7, for those of you who are not familiar with what that is it's I don't know, it's like a meme number for the youngins, the young kids these days. I've heard it compared to the number 69. You know how, like, 69, it's a funny number because it is, that sort of thing, right? It references something that could be considered funny. No, I'm the cool parent who makes things that are not cool uncool. Oh. So 6-7 is a meme that, and every time, like, the kids I hear in, like, grade school and, like, junior high and maybe even into high school hear the words 6-7, or I guess the numbers, they just giggle. And I hear it's because there was, like, some singer or other, and they said it in a weird way, and then somebody took that and then repeated it, and that was also funny, and so it's like a double meme. And yeah, so the youngins, 6-7. Young adults do it too. I saw this, like, video. It was a TikTok, and it was like it was like this reporter at a game, and she was trying to talk about what was going on in the game, and there were some drunk 20-year-olds behind her just, like, repeating 6-7 over and over and over. It was kind of weird. It's all over my kid's school. Something kids say that refers to nothing. They think it refers to something, but ultimate meaning is nothing at all. I mean, isn't that what every meme is, though? It's like inside jokes that are, internet bound and generational almost, You get all of the different memes, and, some people, they get it. You get it when you look at the meme. And then other people, it's like you look at it and you're like, I don't see what's funny, So I do. I think they're, like, generational, or even just, like, subgenre, like, inside jokes almost. And, it's a way to connect with your sort of people, the kind of people that you want to hang around, or the kind of people that like the same things about you. Oftentimes they'll see the same memes as you. So I totally get it. I totally get it. But yeah. So let's see. What else did I do this weekend besides go to the zoo? We went to the Sam's Club and bought our weekly, or I guess it's our bi-weekly. Is that it? Bi-weekly? Yeah. Every 2 weeks we go to the bulk store and we buy a bunch of groceries and stuff. Flip them. 6 times 7 is 42. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. That's definitely true. Yeah, that's true. So maybe bi-weekly is an English word I learned. Yeah. See, And it's a weird word too, because bi-weekly can refer to once every 2 weeks, but it can also refer to 2 times a week. So I always have to try and clarify. But I am Kevin Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. I go to Sam's Club more for gas than food. They do have a decent discount on gas. Like, if you're a member of the Sam's Club and have, like, because it's an exclusive thing where you pay, like, X amount of dollars every year and you get to go and shop at the store, and it's like a bulk store. But they also have 5 cents a gallon discount on gas. So, I mean, if they're near you, it's not a bad, not a bad deal. Really, I only know the meaning of every second week. We can't trust math is a lie. Now that is wonderful. You are a happy fruit who knows where their towel is. Yes. Hitchhiker's Guide. It's one of the best books, right? I got 70 cents off 20 gallons of gas from the grocery store rewards program last week. See, that's good, right? Gas is so expensive that it's really nice to get, money off. It translates to a really long word with accents. That means every second week. See, I don't necessarily know that bi-weekly is supposed to mean either or, but oftentimes people will use it interchangeably. So maybe it just means every 2 weeks. And I mean, that would make more sense, but some people will use the same word to mean twice a week. It's often 40 to 50 cents a gallon cheaper at the Sam's Club 20 miles south than in my town. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that Corwin knows about this grocery store, but the local grocery store that I used to work at this place called Hy-Vee, and it's a grocery store, but they also have gas. And if you bring a receipt from inside the grocery store, no matter how much you spent in the grocery store, they'll give you 5 cents off a gallon on gas. So I always used to buy the employee cups of like soda from the deli, which were 50 cents for like a 16 ounce of soda, and then I would get 5 cents off gas, and it would pay for my soda, So, fun fact, Mr. Adams' daughter is the goalkeeper for the Clapton CFC soccer club and has a degree in philosophy. Yes, Midwesterner soda. I say soda even though most of the people from where I grew up call it pop. I absolutely despise that word. I can't, I don't like it. I don't know why, I just don't like that word. So we do have an ad break coming up in about 3 minutes. So I think I'm going to attempt to get a heat in before that ad starts. Hy-Vee and Casey's Gas had the same rewards at one point. Did they? I am not a Michigan person or a Michigander. Is that what that says? I am from Illinois. I grew up in this place called the Quad Cities. So it's across the state from Chicago, along the Mississippi River. And I don't live there anymore, so you guys can't be all like, oh, I'm gonna dox you. right, we're starting to get there. Skinny, or making that a little bit skinnier and longer. So overall, our shape is starting to come in there. We've got this nice bulky section here. I think I want to make that a little bit thinner. But I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do with it exactly, because I also think that it would be cool if we could take this material and turn it into the stem of this guy so that it'll sit in a hardy. I'm going to put this back in the fire and I'm going to think on it. Soda. Some people say soda, pop, or Coke. Yeah, see, I grew up saying soda around a whole bunch of people that called it pop. And I don't know which is worse, pop or soda pop. I think soda pop is probably better. Maybe. I don't know. Starting to take a Tootsie Roll shape. It definitely is. I think I'm going to do one more heat where I'm trying to make the sides a little bit more parallel. Then we're going to flip the dies. That way we can kind of move the end. Because right now, the end that we're working on, at the very end, there's like this like ball. But it's even on the top and the bottom. And I want the top to be flat. So I want to push all that material down so that both sides kind of hang out the bottom. OED says it can mean both twice a week and every 2 weeks. So we need to use Fortnite. Yes. Fortnite. That's like a really old word. And the thing that I think of most when I hear the word Fortnite is the Taylor Swift song, because, you know, Taylor Swift fan. Oh, we're in the middle of ads, and so I'm talking in the middle of ads. I apologize. Man, I am going to have candy on the brain, Corwin. Tootsie Rolls. I do actually have a giant bag of Snickers in the house. I'm super excited to break into those. We bought them. They're all fun size, so like they're the ones that you give out on Halloween, that size. And it is a giant like 5-pound bag of the fun size versions of the Snickers, and we bought it at the Sam's Club. Really old word, looks askance from UK when it's used every day. I mean, in the United States, Fortnite is not in the common parlance, except for if you're a Taylor Swift fan, because Taylor Swift has a song called Fortnite, and so I think a lot of like Swifties started using the word, but overall, I don't think the laymen in the United States use Fortnite very frequently. Snickers. So what we used to call Marathon in the UK, or the game Fortnite. Yes, the video game Fortnite. See, I don't play Fortnite, so I always forget, you know? But yeah, there's the game Fortnite, and I see ads for it all the time. They have like all kinds of different, I think they have like a Sabrina Carpenter and like a K-pop Demon Hunters like characters that they added to it. Princess Leia, good news. I found Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think you're referring to my headphones, right? Future Oil Painter, welcome to the stream. Yeah, these are my sound canceling headphones, and because it's incredibly loud here. So I use a microphone that has noise suppression, so you guys can hear me, but I can't hear myself very well, which is why I kind of shout. But like the noise in this area is like super loud. But I can't use the orange foamies because my ears are too small. So like I'll, you know how you have to like roll them between your fingers and then shove them in your ear canals. when they start puffing back up, they just fall out of my ears. So I have Leia buns that protect my ears and make sure that I get to hear when I'm not in the shop. Spaceballs already played that joke. The space buns, yes. Yeah, I have cinnamon buns. That's what they are. They're red, and I kind of like have a band over my head. Yeah. It's more like Princess Vespa from Spaceballs, since they are removable. Yeah, like so. It's so weird though. I wear these all the time while I'm streaming and I'm here in the shop. But then when I go in the house and I play video games, oftentimes I'll play MMOs. And so I use my headset with like, you know, so they're like headphones where I can hear things. And then I have like the microphone. And over time, it just hurts. I spend too much time with earphones on. Are you making a samurai sword? Right now, I am making a stake. So this is one of several different shapes for a stake. And so there's this like rounded section here. So the goal, this is a tool, right? So if I take a piece of sheet metal, this is a piece of sheet copper, you can kind of see, you know. What you can actually do is you can turn this flat into a bowl, right? And so the tool that I'm currently making will allow me to make a deeper bowl than this one will. Ah, steak, not steak. Yes, steak, not steak. So closer to Buffy, you know, staking the vampires, but still not that, you know. If they protect your hearing, that'll do. They do protect my hearing. They do a pretty good job protecting my hearing. But I also have like this thing where I just get used to projecting my voice. And so I take off the headphones and I go in the house and I talk to the butler. And I'm like shouting, and the butler's like, "Why are you shouting at me?" And I'm like, I'm not shouting, am I? Oh, I need to recalibrate my voice. Those will come in handy when the zombies attack. Yes, they will, you know. And they're heavy as all get out, too. So, you know, it's not just about the sharp end. It's, you know, I can crush a head with this, you know. Or I can use these guys, you know. Big old 3-pound hammer. This is just my normal voice. Stake, because they are often hammered into the ground and forged on. Yes, that's why they're called stakes. Often, the other thing that a lot of people will do is instead of forcing them into the ground, they'll actually hammer them into like logs. It's kind of like a Viking's anvil, right? So a Viking anvil, it's like a little piece of square about yay big, and sometimes there's a horn, but then there's a spike, and you just hammer it down into a log, and it'll stay there, and it gives you a lot of weight, and it will allow you to forge other objects. To be fair, it is becoming her normal voice. I mean, it is becoming my normal voice, really. And I mean, this isn't the first time I've used this voice. When I was in junior high and even grade school and high school, I was a theater kid, you know? You got that theater kid who are projecting their voice. I can go higher if I need to. But yeah, you know. All right, I'm going to do one more heat on the side of this, and then I'm going to flip the dies around. Hyper projected voice. Yes, you know, like the voices that they use for like the monster truck rallies and stuff. what I've done so far, there's this bulbous section here at the end, right? And it's kind of almost equidistant. So like this neck is equidistant in the center of this bulb. And on the opposite side, if I were to flip this guy around like so, you can kind of see that the opposite side, it all extends in one direction. So my next heat, I am going to attempt to kind of match the two bulbs, both sides. If I don't drop it. But you guys all know that I love dropping pieces of steel. It says, I've had to be louder as a ref so that fans can hear me admonishing wrestlers or counting pinfalls. But my quiet voice comes in handy when communicating. To the wrestlers when the fans aren't supposed to hear, right? Well, there is drop forging, but yeah, exactly. All right, I'm gonna move the camera one more time, and then once I'm done moving the camera, I'm gonna move the dies a little bit. Readjust them and all that. I want you guys to be able to, and then I'll have to like actually, make sure that when I've moved the dies is actively like, it's still in focus. So what I'm currently doing is I've got a flat side and a round side. And we've been using both of the top die and the bottom, the round section. So what I'm currently trying to do is I want to flip the die around so that it's flat on the bottom and round on the top. And I'm going to grab a glove because the dies are a little bit warm. We'll get rid of all of that. That's scale. That is hot rust. Don't want to burn myself. All right. So now I got to make sure that they're all lined up and ready to go. Looks relatively lined up. And now we can redo our clamp. Oh my goodness, I should not have mentioned Sabrina Carpenter when we were talking about Fortnite. Now I have Sabrina Carpenter songs stuck in my head. I don't even like Sabrina Carpenter all that much. She's all right, but, she's no Taylor. Okay. Good to go. Ray is making the ultimate Mr. Pointy from Buffy, right? Okay, it is still in focus. The fish lips could be turned into spikes. Now you have a warhammer, right? And we will be hammering the fish lips back down into that bulbous area as we go. But we were having a little bit of trouble on Friday keeping the steel really hot. And so we started developing some fish lips because I didn't allow the steel to the heat to penetrate into the center of the steel. She's no Taylor, the ultimate diss. I don't know about that. I mean, Taylor's in a world of her own. I just, she is one of the only pop stars or even like artists to be able to break into the top 100 most albums sold. So, I mean, she's up there almost to the Beatles in the amount of records sold. Hey, Mahalo. We're doing pretty good. How are you? Welcome, welcome. keep getting these like tiny little metal splinters. You know, metal splinters are the worst. They are so much worse than like wood splinters, because metal splinters could be so small that you can't see them, and then they just like sit in your skin until they like work themselves out. Just a quick break for fuel, creating more firewood before the winter weather tomorrow. Ooh, are you getting snow? I know it's starting to get colder around here, but I don't think we're getting snow this week. I think we'll probably get some rain, maybe some sleet. But we're happy to have you for as long as you're around, you know? Itchy nose. So yeah, we are working on our steak. Game of Thrones grayscale. Snow north of here, probably a slushy mess here. That makes sense. I mean, when the snow, it comes down, it's all nice and white, but like when it's not cold enough for it to stick in its, you know, like natural innate form, and it starts to get a little bit slushy, then it gets all gray from all of the road stuff. Iron in the skin. Yeah, I got a little, like a sliver in my middle finger. I'm not going to, you know, show you just my middle finger, but yeah, there is a sliver in this one for now. Got a log splitter. We have determined that log splitters make great presses. I wish my press was a log splitter, but you know, we have what we have. Yeah, a real old one. As long as you're not saying that you're the log splitter when you're calling the log splitter old, you know? That's the kind of thing that my grandpa would do. He'd be like, oh, I gotta split some wood. And then, you know, someone would ask him if he had a log splitter, and he'd be like, yeah, my own two hands, this old thing. In Mahalo's case, it would work as a press or as intended, right? All right, let's see if we can kind of straighten out some of these bumps that we're getting with our half-round dies. We have a tendency to create crinkle-cut fries, and we're gonna lose some of that on the one side. This is the time where I have to pay attention to what direction I have the piece in. So we've got the round side on the top, so round side on the same side. That should be pretty good. Feels getting pretty hot. I'm going to have to grab my gloves to keep my knuckles from getting hot. we're starting to get a little bit of movement. Not quite as much as I want, but it is starting to flatten a little bit on this side. You can tell if you're rural, if you wouldn't even consider starting winter without wood for the whole winter, right? I'm too old to be the splitter. That wouldn't last long. Have fun. Keep raising the stakes. You too, Mahalo. I'll see you later. Be safe. Nazgalist 44. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. So I'm thinking that I might have to take a little bit of a break in a few, but that'll be all right. So we have here our press dies. We've got the half round on the one side and the flat on the other. So we're going to be able to flip the piece back and forth upside down to kind of take advantage of the half round and the flat. So I think for our next heat, we're going to turn it 180 degrees. We're going to use the right-hand side, or I guess, yeah, the right-hand side, because it's you guys' right-hand side, my left from this view, but my right from this view. And I'm going to try and remember that I need to use the glove because my knuckles will thank me later. It's the weirdest thing, you know, I've got the lever, and when I press it down to press the press down, I can feel the heat radiating off of the steak, and it kind of, I feel it on my knuckles. It's not enough to actually damage the skin, but it's definitely unpleasant. And so, but it's my right hand, and it's like, I always have spare right-handed gloves, never left, because left-handed gloves are the ones you use for welding, you know? Producer versus camera versus audience versus camera flipping the image, right? It's very confusing, you know? So this is stage right, even though for you guys it's left, or the left side of the screen, and this is stage left, even though it is stage, or it is the right side for you, you know? It's like all of the stage directions, they get flipped. It's the same with our, you know, our studio. I'm gonna check my camera just to make sure that I still have tape to roll. Or I guess not tape, but like, you know, so I still have memory in my memory cards. Roll it. So yeah, a little bit confusing. Not too bad though. All right, let's do another heat. So I'm gonna put my glove on to save my nickels, and we're gonna see what we're doing. See if we can do the thing. All right, I'm gonna move this direction. We're gonna stick it on this side over here. Much more better. Even though that's not proper English. getting much better results now. We're starting to get that nice straight spine in there, and we're getting that like rounded section at the bottom. So we wanted to make sure that we had two different sizes. So we've got a really big ball on that side, a smaller ball on that side. So I'm pretty happy with that. We are getting there. I always preferred to be stage left when I played bass since it was easier to communicate with the drummer. They always look towards the hi-hat. Oops, stage right. Which explains a lot about bands. I mean, communication between the drummer and the bass player is it's essential, right? Because the drum player sets the tempo, but the bass player is, just as important. So you kind of got to communicate between the two of you, because if you got a thumping bass line and it's not in sync with the drummer, then it's a giant disaster. It's a mess, and nobody's happy at that point. So we've got an ad break in about 3 minutes. Or I guess it says, like my timer says it's 3 minutes, but it's probably closer to 3.5 minutes, because every time the timer ticks all the way down, it takes a few seconds for the ads to actually start. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Dark Song Honey. Dark Song Honey. Thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Welcome, welcome. I'm out of water already. I always run out of water around this time. But that's all right. I'm going to put the water over here. And then once the ad starts, I'll probably grab a yellow Gatorade because it's what's in the fridge. There is this one hair that is like coming down out of my ponytail and like itching my nose. Annoying. Garage fridge. Now that would be awesome. That would be so awesome. Speaking of fridges, we are actually getting a new fridge. We are getting one for the van. So it's a travel fridge. It's got like a little cigarette lighter like plug-in, and that powers it and stuff. And so we are going to be able to have cold sodas and beverages, as well as like, keeping food cold so we can cook out of the van. I'm super excited about that. That way we don't actually have to go out to eat every single time we go to a blacksmith conference every meal. And that's really exciting. We've got a 2-burner grill, or like a propane stove, and we're getting this fridge, and we've got a kit of like dishes and plates and things like that. So we should be able to, cook on site while we are camping for our on the road streams. So I'm super excited about that. I don't know. Maybe I will steal the fridge out of the van, when we're not in the van. That way it gets some use and I get a chance to cool some of my beverages in here, and I don't have to go into the house fridge. Lack of cold water, the stray hairs. It seems to be common to all Twitch streams. Music DJs, arts makers, yes. Always. At least you guys don't have to tell me to drink, though, right? I usually keep myself relatively hydrated. Sometimes too hydrated, All right. Once this ad is finished, I will do another heat. I don't like to do heats while there are ads going, so that way everybody gets to see the squishing material. But I am going to go and grab something to drink real fast. Just because speaking loudly like this, that's the downside, right? I have to constantly be drinking things. Alrighty. Is this one the cold one, or is this one is the cold one? All right. Yellow Gatorade. Drink. This isn't a redeem. There isn't a redeem. There's a lot of streamers out there that have hydrate or drink something as a redeem. I just don't feel like I need that. You guys, I don't feel like you guys need to remind me because I constantly reach for my drink. So we are in the middle of ad breaks, or our ad break. I'm finally starting to get a little bit too warm for this jacket, and I'm trying to decide whether I want to unbutton it or I feel like I'd be too cold if I took it off. But if I could go and get my other sweatshirt, my black one, but maybe if I don't know. So yeah. I don't know. I went to the bathroom before the stream started, but I have to, yeah, it wasn't as good, you know, I don't know. All right, let's do another heat. If we worry, we will remind you. I've not needed to so far. Yeah, I don't really, I always drink water or soda or something. Every time just all around, I always have something to drink around. I don't know why, it's just a habit. You know what? I bet I know why too. After this heat, I'll tell you a story that I have. All right, not bad. I think we're getting about where we want to be. So I need to turn the dies again so we can kind of make this a little bit skinnier again. We've gotten a lot fatter. And then I have a couple ideas for another few heats that I want to do, and we're probably going to do those at the post device, which is, I know, is a little bit weird, but it'll make sense when you see it. I know many streamers have a hydrate redeem, but I usually do not trigger it. I mean, I also do not tell other people when to visit the bathroom, right? I feel like for me, I never wanted to do the hydrate like redeem, mostly because I feel like you guys, I'm not your Tamagotchi, you know? a fellow fee hoodoo. And they also have a stretch redeem, and that gets called, but Ray doesn't need that either. I try to, you know, I do have a tendency to kind of curl up and do the shrimp thing with my back, but I try to stand up relatively straight. So I think the reason that I got into the habit of drinking is that for a while I really wanted to address my face, and I know you guys notice it. I have a lot of rosacea, and I went to the dermatologist and to try and do something about it. And we did find a solution, but that solution was for me to take water pills, right? Water pills are, you know, so that you can get rid of excess water that is, you know, water retention in case, you know, it's usually a side effect of other medications. Anyway, there is a side effect of the water pills that prevents acne from forming. And so it worked beautifully, and my face was clear and it was fine and it was great, except that I constantly had to go to the bathroom because they're water pills, and that's what they do. They make you have to go to the bathroom because you're losing all that water. Well, I did not, at the time, did not drink enough to stay hydrated, right? So I ended up, the result of that was kidney stones. And so because of that, I drink so much liquid all the time just because I do not want kidney stones ever again. It was awful. You do mostly stand straight and repeatedly lift heavy weights and drink a lot. I try. So yeah, I mean, eventually I just got to the point where I just couldn't handle it anymore, and I stopped taking the water pills, as you can probably tell. But, you know, I got older, I don't really care anymore. Maybe one day I will, if if more people show up and, you know, I become more famous or whatever, maybe I'll do something, but I think I'm all right. Hey, Chris, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, it's hard to stay hydrated when you're on water pills and you're sweating out in the shop. I got older and I don't care anymore. I resemble this. Yeah. I just don't care anymore. I'm sorry. Maybe I should. It's just one of those things, you know? It became more effort than I was willing to put out, and you know, then it was worth to the boost for my self-esteem or whatever. So I just stopped. I don't care. Oh yeah, I was gonna change my dyes, guys. I forgot. So we are changing the dyes so that we have double half round and double flats again, because we have moved the ball on the end of the side we've been working on down, and so we have it sticking out at the bottom but not on the top. We've got that nice flat spine. Stream might not be quite the same then, though. Oh, but then you'll have to switch from smithing contests to beauty routines and makeup tutorials. That wouldn't be the same sort of stream. I don't think I'd have the same demographic. Should means nothing until it becomes does, right? All right, where did I put my glove is right there. All right. So if we flip this guy around, whoops, and I can drop things some more. Drop forging my clamp, right? And I'll put that there for now. And we gotta make sure that's nice and lined up. And then open that up just a little bit so it'll go down in there a bit better. This way. I always get confused about which direction is closed and which is open when I am in the shop, because half of my stuff is backwards threaded and half of my stuff is frontwards threaded. Goodness. Okay. Good to go. Now I gotta check to make sure that everything is still in focus. Whoopsie. All right. Good to go. All right. So we're back to the double half round. Ray's Beauty Palace. The benefits of scale exfoliation tips, right? That would be so unpleasant. Turning scale into an exfoliant. Oh, so many. I was talking earlier about the steel slivers. Could you imagine? In your face, that would be awful. Well, propane is proper threaded, is it? So the interior propane is backwards threaded. I think the exterior threads on a propane, because there are two types of regulators for propane tanks like that. And I think the exterior ones are normal thread, whereas the interior ones are backwards threaded. See, I used to do a whole bunch of clay sculpting, and that was really good. You know, you got that mud exfoliation. It did kind of dry out my hands a bit sometimes. When you know, if you wash your hands too many times, they start in the winter time, your skin starts to crack. You got to be really careful about that. So I do actually have like a whole bunch of like moisturizer for that purpose, but you know. All right, I'm gonna do my next heat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus in on the flats, because we've got a little bit of a curve being generated, and I want to fix it. And there's my glove. And it's a little bit too fat, so turn that on, and we'll let the air out. I would have burned my knuckles. Actually burned them if I didn't. All right, so we are going to flip this direction, and we're going to go on the flat one more time. I think we're going to take a little bit of time on the rounds just to thin that out just a little bit. Right now, we're just sort of flattening it out, getting rid of that little curve. Then we're going to go over to the post vise. My grandfather used to mark arrow circles on his stuff to make figuring out tap directions a no-brainer. I do it too when it becomes an issue. Arrow circle turn direction indicators. Man, I keep seeing I'm on TikTok all the time, and so I'm constantly scrolling. And occasionally, every once in a while, I'll get a video on like tattoos. or like, useful or ingenious tattoos. And one of them that I actually had considered for a while is the right and left hand tattoos. People will tattoo like right around here. This one will be an L and this one will be an R. That way they can look at their hands and be like, oh, this is my right hand and this is my left hand, I am so bad at telling my right from my left. That's probably, that maybe that's the thing to do someday. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old for that. But yeah, the thread indicators is really good, to be honest. On that, I've got thread indicators usually on the propane tanks, the valve, and also on my regulator valve. Oh boy. So yeah, I don't know. And it's the worst. I play a lot of MMOs, right? Massive multiplayer online role-playing games, like World of Warcraft and things like that. And I used to be massively into leading end game raids. So it's like I'm running around directing 20 people to do or to kill a boss, and I'm constantly like move right or move left or whatever, and then I accidentally get them backwards, and then people die because I said the wrong direction. Eventually, the team got used to me flipping my directions, and then they would actually learn which direction was the correct one to begin with, and then I didn't have to call it anymore. Not figuring it out yet. Too late. Yes, that's exactly what happened. I have it. Take up dancing. I mean, maybe. But see, the reason, like, I'm really confused by the old adage, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, because if you're looking at a circle, at the top, that's correct. But if you're looking at the bottom, it's completely backwards. So, you got your righty-tighty, but at the bottom, it's left. So for the longest time, I didn't know whether people were referring to the top of the circle or the bottom of the circle. And so I got super confused to the point where I confused other people trying to explain it. If you don't know your right from your left, you might be like me, an ambi-sinister. Right is what you do with your right hand, or you left, because you're equally good with both. Absolutely not. I am useless with my left hand. Like, that's the only reason I could tell my right from my left, is because, like, I am just like, oh, I write with this hand. This must be my right hand. And I am a righty. Left or Ray left. That's why dancing is great. You get to the point where you use the cues of everyone else around you, right? I had that problem too, but you just have to remember that it is the top of the circle, right? Eventually, I did get that through my thick skull, that it is always the top that people are referring to. I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense, just righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Well, which direction? So confusing. So infuriating. As a kid, because I'd be like, which direction? And that's what people would tell me. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then people would just scream it back at me. And then, yeah, it was a whole thing. I have two sisters. One is very right-handed. One is very left-handed. And I am very ambidextrous. See, I wish I was ambidextrous. But I honestly, I have no idea how I became right-handed. My patriarchal side of my family is very right-handed, but the matriarchal side of my family is all left-handed, right? And somehow I ended up right-handed, so I don't know. So compass points would be a nightmare, yes. The only reason that somehow I understand clockwise and counterclockwise, right? Because I grew up in trying to tell time, you know, and you got your clockwise. And so that makes sense, right? So then I just remember never eat shredded wheat, right? North, south, east, west, or no, northeast, southwest, and it's in the clockwise fashion. Clockwise and wider shine, yes. So I don't know why that made sense and the righty tighty lefty loosey didn't. I don't know. The way I remember it, on a vehicle, it is the same. It moves into the direction of the top the tires move to. So imagine a car in front of you. Wheels turn right if the car moves to the right. That is a very dangerous way for me to look at that sandwich, because I'm going to get so confused. I'm totally going to like forget how to drive a car. Soon, clockwise, etc. is going to mean nothing. Digital clocks. I know, right? There are so many younger people that they don't know how to read a clock face anymore. But I mean, most of the time you got a cell phone in your pocket. Why do you need a clock face, you know? Only a logical explanation for being right-handed, mailman's kid, right? And then you drive an EU car. I would be so confused with the driver's side being backwards. Goodness. You're not supposed to drive the car, but imagine it from the side. Oh, yes. My 22-year-old granddaughter is, when I say clockwise to her. Oh, it's confused, right? Yeah. I don't know. See, I come from that generation where I learned both, right? You know, you've got your digital and your analog. In EU has the same roadside as the US. I feel like not every European country drives on the same side, because we drive on the right-hand side. And then our driver's seat, the driver's side is on the left-hand side of the car, but you drive on the right-hand side of the road. And now I'm going to get all confused about that. All right, let's do another heat. All right, glove. Alrighty. Open it up just a little. Now close it. And turn it on. All right, so we're going to flip this 90 degrees and we're going to come at it from this side. And then after that, we're going to do some heats on the anvil face, and then also some heats on the post vise. And I'll kind of explain those in a second, or not in a second, but in a few, when we get there. The driver is always near the center. Europe is divided, as is Japan and UA. I think Australia is right-handed. Nope. See, I can't keep track. That's one thing that I really wish we could standardize across the entire world. It's like, do we have to have, flip flop sides of the road? Can we not all just agree to drive on one side or the other? And I mean, I know that it's kind of like when you grow up or when you learn to drive, it's really hard to like learn the opposite side. But if we start with the young generation, then it'll be just like the metric system, and then the rest of the world will pick one side, and then the United States will pick a different side, and then we will continue to be divided, right? Again, only the British drive on the left, and they are not in the EU anymore. So EU is completely right side. I cannot think of an EU country that drives on the left. The root of the left side driving goes back many, many, many centuries, allowed weapons to be brought to bear and used while mounted. Is it? I suppose that makes sense, right? Because if you're like jousting, you're going to hold your jousting spear or your sword or whatever your weapon on your right hand side, because most people are right handed, all right? So then if you go down the left side, then yeah, you could totally clash that way. That makes more sense. So I don't know why we drive the way we do here in the United States and plenty of places in Europe. The ad is going to start in about 3 minutes, apparently, according to my timer on the stream. So I'm going to say about, 3 minutes now, because, it's been about 30 seconds. So once that is done, we'll do our last heat on the press for the moment, and then we'll start doing a little bit of hand forging. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of a break during this ad, so I'm going to mute the volume real fast, and then I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I will be back before the end of All right, and I think I'm back. I am back. Not I think I'm back. I think I unmuted myself, and I think I'm all right now. Okay. Not many people in early U.S. use in lances and swords as common weapons. Man, Hey, Jack. I think I'm in ad purgatory right now. I think. You know what? I bet you if I roll up the sleeve like so, it will be less obnoxious. Yeah, whatever. Maybe not. It's fine. It's fine. What did I say I was going to do? Did I say I was going to turn 180 degrees and keep on keeping on? I think I was. Thanks for waiting. We are back. We are going to do one more heat on the press. We are going to turn it 90 degrees from the direction that we were at. From there, we're going to move over to the anvil and kind of do a little bit of finesse work. We are almost finished with our forging of this piece. So I'm really, really excited because, I mean, we've only been here for 4 streams. There might be a little bit of, I might create some more work for us to do. When I start working on the post spice a little bit, but I think we're really getting close to being done with this piece. Okay, I looked it up and I stand corrected. Malta and Cyprus are EU members and they drive on the left. Like I said, I thought there were a few places that did drive on the left and then like a few countries, and then I feel like there's a few regions of some countries that drive on the left, but I'm not the, the end all be all on your EU like travel, so I'm not positive. Okay, let's do a heat. Did I do the thing? I did do the thing. I've got plenty of time on that. And then we'll be moving the piece anyway. But yeah, we're getting really close to being done with this guy. The A2 has been moving a lot easier than I thought it would, you know? So this is where we've ended up so far. We've got a little bit of a curve here that I'm going to take out on the anvil. I want to forge these a little bit flatter. We've got that French fry squish from our half rounds. And then the other thing that I really want to do is I want to take some time to kind of shape the rounds. And then The last thing I want to do is I want to take this over to the post vise and move this section downward, right? I want this whole edge, like the top of this, to be flat. So we're going to see if we can't move some of this material down by using the post vise. I think if you don't swerve everywhere, you're wasting road. They paved the whole thing, got to drive on it to get the maximum use. Oh, and of course, Ireland is not part of Great Britain and is still an EU member. I thought all had, or of Great Britain had exited with Brexit, but I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not amazingly up on my Irish politics. It is everything I can do to keep up with the US's politics half the time. But we don't talk about that here anyway, so we're good. Northern Ireland is, but not Ireland. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so like I said, we're going to take the steel and we're going to work on it on the face of the anvil. We're going to kind of try and shape those ball ends, take off as much of the corners as possible, and then pull down that center belly. I want to kind of turn this a little bit into a Hardy-esque piece of stock, or I guess tool. And so eventually I want to put a stem on it, similar to what we've done here. We've got a stem on this so that we can hang on to it. Well, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to forge that down or if I'm going to have to like weld it or wrap a stem on it. So we're going to take a look at that and see. This is what I used to call trouble for a long time. Here is the map. Yeah. I'll have to take a look at that later on once the stream is over. So yeah, we mostly have, like, we are mostly forged out this tool. So the vast majority of what we have left is kind of finessing it, making sure that the shapes are where they need to be, taking off some of those weird corners, making sure everything is nice and flat. We are currently, we're just taking off time when we have to grind this piece. So I had estimated 9 streams. We're at 4, so we'll right now. So we'll probably go another stream. So we'll probably do a little bit more finesse work on this piece on Wednesday. But we may not end up using the full stream doing it. So I will come up with another project that we can do on Wednesday to kind of pad out the rest of the stream. And then remember, on Friday, we are going to be doing that special Black Friday stream where we are making jingle bells. So I've got the pattern. It's a flat sheet. It kind of reminds me, the pattern kind of reminds me of a ninja star or like a shuriken. So we are going to dome that out and put a little bit of a cut off of bar stock inside that center, and then that way we'll be able to tie a ribbon on it and jingling it, or shake it and make a jingle bell. A J-hook, that sounds like fun. I've got a fun semi-complicated Christmas ornament if you're looking for ideas. You should totally post that in one of the 2 Discords, yours or mine. And I'll take a look at it. I'm, like I said, I did not expect this piece to be as short of a of a project. So we may have some extra time. So, you know, I would be all over doing another Christmas ornament type thing. We do also have our next major project, which is going to be another raising hammer. Knott's hubby made me one of these, a raising hammer. It's gorgeous. It's Damascus steel. It's beautiful and it works beautifully. We've already done a little bit of work with it, but this hammer goes with this set of stakes. And this is what you use to take that sheet and turn it into round vessel forms. So we will actually be making our own one of these, or raising hammer, because, you know, I wanna take my shot at it. So we're probably gonna take a look at this guy. We're gonna do a little bit of measurement and kind of use this as a template for the one that we make. Obviously, ours isn't going to be quite as pretty because we're just using regular 4140 and we are not going to be making any Damascus yet. I am planning on doing a little bit more forge welding this spring, and hopefully we'll be able to work up to doing some Damascus steel by next summer. I am bound by how much metal cost within the next few months. Right now, steel is very, very expensive, and I just can't afford to do my full top-ups. So that's part of the reason why we've been doing some more of, going through some more of my scrap material and larger projects. Just, you know, these are things that I have always, you know, I have always planned on doing, but I never got around to it. So that's kind of where we are. Once we get that hammer done, we will be doing some vessel shapes. Our first one is going to be a piece of armor, and I'm thinking a pauldron, which is a piece of shoulder armor. You guys are going to tell me what pattern you'd like to see, whether you want to see some like an anime or a video game or a movie or other type of media. Or if you want to see like a specific armor style, we could also go that way. We can do up to, I'm going to say 3 articulations, so that would be 4 pieces that are connected for this shoulder piece of armor. For me personally, cable Damascus was always the easiest to succeed. See, I did some twist pattern Damascus back before my break, and that wasn't too terribly bad, but yeah, it all depends on what we can get a hold of. Cable Damascus is also very interesting and fun to do. You know, it starts with scrap, so it might just be easier to get a hold of. So we might take a look at doing some cable Damascus this spring or summer. I'm not sure. We shall see. What am I? Yeah. So I'm gonna do another heat. This time on the anvil. Okay, so we've got it relatively straight. It is a little bit of a parallelogram as opposed to right angles like a square. So we will be doing a little bit of hammering that back. I also want to push this ball down a little bit further just so that we've got that nice straight back. But we're gonna get some more heat before we do that. So yeah, we're back to hand hammering. So right now, I feel like our piece kind of looks like a dinosaur. And I know that sounds a little bit weird, but we've got like the ball on the one end, the ball on the other end, but in the skinny neck. So that's like, I don't know, there's like a dinosaur that has like a club tail. I think it's called a club tail dinosaur. Anyway, so it's got like a neck, a head, a tail, and like a club tail, but then it also has like a body that's happening. And it gets a lot thicker in that central area. So I want to push that down so I have a full flat back. So what, lean into it. Time to form an Ankylosaurus raising stake with his nose in the anvil, right? So my plan is to open up the post vise as wide as we can get it, or I guess as wide as that like big belly we've got, and then we're going to place the piece on like so, and then I'm just going to hammer that down, and hopefully we're able to straighten that out just a little bit. There is always a chance that this isn't going to work out the way I think it's going to. And if it doesn't, we will just figure out another method to make this work and do what we want it to do. But that's my idea for the moment. And if any of you guys have a better idea or a better way to go about this, please do let me know. I am taking advice. An Ankylosaurus. I think it looks kind of like a dinosaur. And I'm kind of like, this isn't what I was trying to do, but I could make it work. So yeah, it's got a little bit of a belly and a body. So if I can make that straight back and move all of that material down using either the post vise or whatever other method, there is a chance that if I can squish that down, we might be able to make like the stem, the hardy, I'm gonna call it, this area right here out of that material, but there's also an equal amount of chance that we won't be able to make it. So we shall see how well it goes. The forge is now hot enough that I am starting to get a little bit warm in my jacket, but I'm also afraid to take it off, because if I take it off, I'll get cold. For whatever reason, this area of skin does not like the cold, like at all. I did some forging for the first time in months. Did you? That's exciting. I'm glad that you were able to do some. So was it a time thing, or was it just you didn't have the motivation, or what was it that made you unable to forge? I know that a lot of times it takes a lot of motivation, a lot of like convincing myself to go out into the shop. Motivation and injury mostly. See, I totally get it, You get a good injury and you're just down for the count for a while and you just can't get out into the shop. And then when it's finally healed up, it's been so long since you've been out to the shop that, it takes so much extra effort to reach, to get over that hurdle and get back into the shop, Totally relatable, It took me like 4.5 years to get back out into the shop after I got sick. I probably could have gotten back out here a lot earlier, But I mean, you know, it is what it is. I had to build up to the point where I could be out as long, you know? I totally get it. And I'm so glad that you're back at it. You know? Going out one time makes it easier to go out the next time, you know? You just got to get started. All right. I am going to put this guy right here. It's my hold down. It's going to help me a little bit. Thanks. Yeah. I'm all for encouraging people. Reach your goals, even if they're not blacksmithing related, you know? Oh, come on. There we go. All right, more heat. Now I'm getting heated. Now it's probably time to get rid of my jacket. Except for that, now I have to move my microphone. I apologize for any pops or weirdness. As I do this. Whew. It's the whole full forging blows, you know? There we go. All right, and then that can go in there like so. Super warm. All right. I don't know. Maybe I should have swung my my jacket around a little bit. Give you guys a little bit of a show taking off my jacket. I didn't think that. Big on jacket, right? See, I didn't think that I was actually going to get to this point, you know? I was like, oh, I'll need the jacket because I'm not going to be doing too terribly much physical exertion, so I should be fine. And now I'm all like, I'm sweaty. Sweaty. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to work a little bit on the nose. That nose that we started working, or we started forging in. So we are going to get rid of those fish lips that developed, and we're going to kind of create a more rounded area there. We do need to flip the whole thing around and work a little bit on the bigger round so that I don't have to do quite as much grinding overall. But, you know, a little bit at a time. Just working through the process. Like I said, I think this is going to take at least one more stream to kind of get this exactly where I want it to be before I start grinding it. All right. Next heat, next heat. A little bit down. And now we're going to work on these corners. Dropping things. All right, so I want to round this out a little bit further. So we're going to focus in on this side like that, but I need more heat first. And we've got an ad coming up in about 3 minutes. So that should be plenty of time for us to get heat on the piece. And let me check my camera to make sure that I still have minutes on my card. All right, let's move the camera. Yep, all right, good to go. Oh, goodness gracious. Exciting, exciting. So by the end of the day on Wednesday, we should be able to have this piece finished. And then we will start working on, I don't know, some other simple project, and then Jingle Bells on Friday. And then on Monday, we're going to start our next major project. And that project, I got to figure out where my piece of steel is for it. I don't know what I did with it. I have a piece of 4140 that I chopped off of our drift, but I don't know what I did with it. I'll have to look for it. I will have to look for it. I saw Mahalo take it. See, that's how you can say that Mahalo took it because Mahalo isn't here to defend himself. What did I do with that piece? I have no idea. Oh, there it is. I found it. So we're going to take this and we're going to turn it into something closer to this. So it'll probably be a little bit shorter because this doesn't look like quite enough material to make something like this. We shall see. Yeah, I wouldn't lie about it if he was here to call me out, right? There is another, I do have another piece of stock that I might be able to use, the same stock that we made the axe from. If I take a really skinny sliver of it, I should be able to make a hammer out of it. I think this might be, now that I have a raising hammer, this might be a little bit too small to make another one out of. I will think on it over the weekend. So this is Thanksgiving week. I cannot believe how late in the year it is. I cannot believe it. I feel like it was just January. For some of the world, you're entertaining here. If you haven't seen Thack Ironworks on YouTube, he may appeal. I will have to take a look. Thack Ironworks. I will. Let's look them up. Cool. Subscribed. That way I will be able to find them again. All right. What was I? Yeah, I'm working on the bottom, or like the little, yeah. I know what I'm doing. All right, guys, let's do another heat. I think I might actually turn it this direction. As I drop it, thereabouts. Yowza. Scale on my finger. Alrighty. More heat. We've got like a bone shape on there, and I want to kind of fix that a little bit. Make it more round. I'm in and out at work. Well, that's all right. Don't get in trouble because you're at work, you know? Gotta make sure that you're, you take care of real life first. That is my highest priority, is real life comes first. So I always appreciate when you guys are here and, enjoying the stream and hanging out with me, but, real life always comes first. All right. So I think we're going to do a little bit of work here on the post device now. So I'm going to put that over there. And I'm going to move our camera over here. Because what I want to do is upset that nose a little bit. And then I also want to see if I can't bring in that belly so that we can have a nice flat spine. All right. I'm gonna need to move my Gatorade because it's on the end there. All right. Got to wait a little bit longer in order to get enough heat so that we can come back in and use the vise to kind of upset the nose down a little bit, make it a lot rounder at the end. So you have a ball one end, and what's the other end? So both of them are balls on the end, right? Or they're supposed to be. Right now they're pretty like brickish. The one side looks more like a bone end than a round, but that's what we're gonna do for our next heat. We're gonna upset that back a little bit and turn it into more of a round. The other side looks more like a pea, and so there's a bigger ball and a smaller ball. So we've got more of a flat shape, and then we'll have some more ball shapes. So we've got, you know, something for a bigger bulb and something for a smaller bulb. I decided to give myself several different options when I am, you know, making those concave shapes. So 2 balls on the end of this one. Or at least that's the goal. I don't know if it'll happen or not the way I want it to. Okay. All right. Let's try this. Oh, you know what? I have to change my camera view. If I make one, I'm welding big balls on. See, that makes some sense. Instead of having to forge them out. A lot of this is going to end up being a grinder job, you know? All right, so for our next heat, we are going to turn this around so that we can kind of make sure that both sides are even-ish. We've kind of created a little bit of a T going in there, and I want to move that down, but I also want to turn this way so that I can kind of focus in on this side. I have balls in different sizes, up to like 3 inches. Wow. That would be really cool to have. I do not have multiple balls that I can stick on my stuff. So I have to, I'm stuck forging them in. And I moved the vise as I was going on that heat, so I just want to make sure that everything is nice and still in focus, and it looks like it is, so we're good to go on that. I need to find a huge ball bearing to make a rounding hammer swage. I mean, makes sense. If you can actually make, the less forging you have to do for your tools, the easier they are to have, and the quicker between you can use them. I mean, I just kind of bought a piece of stock that I thought might work for what I wanted to do, and I knew that I was going to be doing a lot of forging on it. So, you know, it is what it is. I still have a big old chunk if I ever want to make another one, or if I'm not happy with this one. Trailer hitches work up to a point, but they don't last forever. Yes, that is so the case. Also, a lot of modern trailer hitches have like really flat tops, so you kind of have to grind back the edges on that. Lord Veterinary, welcome to the stream. Hello. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm Ray, I'm a blacksmith. So yeah, we're kind of squishing metal around. I like to forge to as close to finish that I can. I do too, because I hate grinding and finish work. And the less grinding and finish work that I can get away with, the better, in my opinion. So right now I'm doing a lot of finesse work. And that is so that I don't have to, forge everything down. Or, I mean, I guess grind everything down. And I also am able to save more of the material, Grinding wastes material, in my opinion. I feel like, all of that material, it goes to waste. It's like dust or like, little shavings. If you are, using a lathe, and then you have to kind of like sweep it up, and I guess you make canister Damascus out of it. Rounding hammer would be way bigger than a trailer hitch. Diameter. Yeah. I do have a trailer hitch that I often use for the same purpose that I'm making the stake for. It works very beautifully for armor making, but yeah, it doesn't always work. It's not for every shape, You got to have the right tools for the right job. And, just because you have something that does work doesn't mean you can't find or make something that works better, All right, next heat. There we go. All right, and I think that's where we want to leave that one for the moment. We're going to take it back over to the horn of the anvil and move that material back down. We've kind of created like a little bit of a T in there, and I want to take all of that, the material that's like upset up here, and move it down. So we're back to that ball that we want with the straight back. But before I do that, I'm going to do one last heat here on the on the vise. So I've got like that central area that's really fat. It's kind of creating like a body, or like just a fat section. So I want to move that down so the full back is straight as I can get it. So that's going to be our next heat, is opening this vise and kind of pushing that down. Ooh, I slept in today. Hey, Lexi. I mean, everybody needs to sleep sometimes. I don't blame you for that. It's super, super early when I start streaming for you. Yes, smack it. Yeah. So the vice is just a little bit high for me when I am hammering. So like I don't get a full swing when I'm using the vice, but you know. Is it easy to make sheet metal? I'm not entirely sure how to answer your question. Are you talking about turning bar stock into sheet metal? I have some sheet metal. I often, or most of the time when I'm working with sheet metal, I buy it already sheet form, and then I do whatever I want with it. So this particular piece is a tool so that it will allow me to take this piece of sheet steel and turn it into a round vessel form, like a bowl or a vase or a piece of armor or something like that. Oh, I read the title of the stream wrong. I thought the tool you are making is for making sheet metal. It's for turning sheet metal into vessel forms. So I apologize if it was confusing. I feel like this particular project is a little bit niche. I don't feel like I had the best way to title it, kind of tell what I'm trying to make, because steak could mean any number of things, from meat that you eat, even though it's spelled differently, to like a vampire steak. You stake them in the heart, and but yeah. No, it's me. Oh, okay. Oh, a shot put would do the trick. It would do the trick. There's this guy that I used to work with at the Society for Creative Anachronism, and he had a giant iron ball that was about yay big, and it had like a stick on the end of it that I was able to clamp into a vice or put in a hardy. That thing was beautiful for making armor. It works so well. There's also like dishes that are very similar to that, so that you can like sink in the sheet metal. So yeah. I've never done blacksmithing, but I'd love to try it at some point. It's so much fun. I cannot recommend enough to find a blacksmith in your area. And if you don't know where any are already, there is the Abana website. That is the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America. And they have a website that you can actually type in your zip code or your postal code, and it will give you, it spits out the closest blacksmith or closest affiliate to you. Oh, you're Australian? They do actually have or they have an Australian Blacksmith Association as well. Also, Lexi is in Australia, and so yeah, so there are blacksmiths in Australia, and I'm sure that there are ways that you can hook up with groups of blacksmiths. Like I said, Abana actually has the website, or it has a link to the website for the Australian Blacksmith Association. So I would look them up. There might be one near you. The rounding hammer swage isn't round either. It's a compound curve. Ooh. I love compound curves. They are so much fun to do. You've got that parabolic conic section. I love making those. I don't like doing the math involved, but I love making them. Valhalla Ironworks and Sam Towns are both Australian smiths who used to stream. Yeah, there are blacksmiths all over the world who are, and the blacksmithing community on the whole is always willing to teach and to talk about blacksmithing, and they're so kind, they are so amazing. And I'm sure there's one within a few hours of you that you can totally get started with. All right. I put this piece of material back as far as I can get it to go. let's see if I can do the thing I want to do. True, but getting a rough form with a shot put would eliminate a lot of grinding. I'm sure it would. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of material out and I am going to set it on top of the post vise, and then I'm going to hammer on top of it, which should bend the sides up. And I'm hoping that I'm able to kind of force it all into a straight line. I live in a pretty big city, Melbourne, so probably less than a few hours. Yeah. What am I trying to do? These two. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, so we'll put that there. And I think I need to open it a little bit further to get what I want, but I'm afraid to open it too much further. It's starting to work. All right. I'm going to turn this around and we're going to try on the opposite side a little bit. We're not going to get a fully flat side, but we'll get closer. Let me do that real fast. I don't know how I'd find the nearest one though. There usually is a directory for on the Blacksmith Association websites. Like I said, Abana is like, it's the North American blacksmiths. You can put your postal zip code in there, but they also do, or like the Australian Blacksmith Association also does have a website, because I've seen it on the Abana website. I've not gone there, so I don't know exactly how that works. But there's usually a directory where you can like, or at least, you know, locations of different chapters. So that would be my first suggestion. All right, Sandwich, have a good night. Sleep well. Thanks for joining us. I believe most just forge the shape of the end of the bar, then press that into a block to create the swage. I'm not 100% on that, but I know a few Brazil nuts I could ask. Right? Google it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Australian Blacksmith Association has a website that you could probably Google and find that link to it. And like I said, they usually have locations for meetings. And at those meetings, you can kind of find someone who can help you. Stimulator, Drive, Bet. Welcome to the stream. So, we are starting to wrap up the stream. I'm probably going to do 2 more heats. We're going to do them on the post vise, trying to kind of bring that belly lower so that I can get a flat back on this steak. On Wednesday, we will be back in the shop, and I believe we will be back at this steak. There is a chance that I will switch things up a little bit, and we'll do, like, if it's really, really nice outside, we might do a forge welding stream, but that's unlikely. I think it's going to get cooler and wetter as the week progresses, so we'll probably be continuing in this project on Wednesday. So 2 more heats, and then we will raid off. I always take suggestions for who you guys want to raid. Please let me know if there's anybody that you guys are excited to watch after this stream. But yeah. Old Hickory Forge just goes around the top and forge the round in. But of course, that's rough forging too. I recently made a wooden Viking axe. I'm looking to make a helmet currently. Currently planning to use EVA foam and leather, but the cardboard version I tried had bad dimensions, so I need to work that out. I need a good pattern. Yeah, that's really cool. So are you into cosplay? There are some pretty cool patterns that are available. Like, if you're doing cosplay stuff, like Kamui Cosplay has a bunch of really cool patterns that you can get into. And then I think there are a couple other pretty popular cosplayers that will either give away or sell patterns for things like that. Well, this is my first cosplay. Awesome. I used to be really big into cosplay. Super big. I've got several of them that are pretty good. I did a Nightingale from Skyrim, and then I've done a couple of Star Wars cosplays, and a couple others here and there. Unfortunately, I like accuracy, so that narrows down my options a bit, right? Definitely does. All right, I do have an ad coming up in about 3 minutes, and I hate ending on an ad, so I'm gonna I'm gonna snooze this ad, and then we're gonna do our heats. So let's do our next heat just to make sure that we get it in. Raw. Much more flat. That's pretty exciting. All right. Not quite as flat as I wanted it to be, but flat enough for the moment. I think I can grind that off and not lose too terribly much material. All right, so my last heat is going to be on the anvil. So I will be moving my camera one last time. Raid, right? Corwin likes it when people raid me at the end of my stream because sometimes I stream a little bit longer than normal when I have a raid come in. Today, though, I cannot do that. Unfortunately, I do have a hard out at about a quarter after. Because the butler's waiting for me. All right. If you weren't streaming, what do you do while you wait for it to heat up? Back before I got sick, I would actually be working 2 pieces at once. So when I was finished with, when I was waiting for one to heat, I was working on the other. Nowadays, if I am forging and I'm not streaming, I listen to music. I have a second set of headphones that have a Bluetooth connection to my phone, and I just listen to music. And I sing and I dance around and, all kinds of crazy. Fair enough. Yep. When you use your stakes, do you use them in the anvil or do you sit in a chair? So when I use when I'm raising, I prefer really tall holders, right? So I can't use my hardy. This is too short because I would have to sit in a chair. Well, I don't like having my legs in front of me when I'm raising. I want to be able to kind of get closer to the piece because I use my hip and my leg to steady the piece of sheet material a lot. So this is a bit too tall, this is a bit too short. So I actually have a bench that is about yay tall, and I have like a little, an attachment on the bench, and so it puts it right at the level that I need it, right? So it's basically, it's just like a piece of square, like cast. It's like a hardy, but it's just like a square, and then it bolts into the top of a bench. So yeah. I usually, what I'm doing is I'm standing while I'm raising, but I've also been known to do the one cheek sit, right? Where I'm like half on, half off on a high stool. But if I'm getting really into it, I stand up straight and I'm like over top of it. So I don't always sit. Like a strike plate. Yes, very, very similar to a strike plate, but it only has one hole, if that makes sense. And then I have another one, this one, that I use, so this is a piece of square stock that I welded onto a piece of angle. This one is specifically for my sinusoidal stake, and the zigzaggy one, and the stem of that sits right in here, and I'm able to use that. All right, I'm gonna snooze this ad one more time. And then we're gonna do one more heat here on the anvil face. But yeah, I will be doing that, a little bit of raising here in the future. It'll probably be closer to the end of December, maybe more January, depending on how the holidays treat me. All right. All right. That's all she wrote for the day. So, here it is. It's pretty well shaped the way I want it to. Like I said, I want to take this guy down and make that a little bit straighter. It's a little bit pug-nosy, and I need to push that down a little bit. I also need to take all these corners off of here. Everything's really sharp, and I don't want to rip my sheet, and I also don't want to sit there and grind for 100 years. So, yeah, that's what we'll be doing on Wednesday. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have had so much fun, and I hope to see you guys on Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day and a great day tomorrow. All right. Do you guys have anybody that you'd like to hope you and the butler have a great evening? Well, thank you. I appreciate that sentiment. Have a nice day. Yeah, I will be, like I said, I will be back on Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern Standard U.S. time. I said Wednesday, not Tuesday, right? Yeah, I'll be back Tuesday, yeah. Is your strike plate the same size as your hardy? Is it interchangeable? No, it's smaller. I wish it was interchangeable. It would be nice if it was, and if I were to do it all over again, I'd totally do that. But unfortunately, I was unable to make that decision at the time. All right, let's see. We get to meet someone new. What do we got? Let's do this person. We're going to raid Megana. We have not raided her before. Looks like she's sewing things. So let me know how you like it. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I hope to see you guys on Wednesday. Bye!